Well, good afternoon and welcome to Facebook Live. I'm Liz Holpin from Pinhole Quilting, and as you can see, it was quite fresh this morning. When we got up, it was about -5, -6, and I haven't been wearing this all day. It's not that cold in the showroom, but this is the ultimate hat with the ear flaps. It's a great look, isn't it? So I hope you're keeping nice and warm wherever you are in the country, or if you're overseas, I hope you're keeping the cold at bay. So I'm just going to take this off actually, because it is a little bit too hot. It squashes my hair as well. Now, I don't know about you, but things are starting to get quite lively. We've got the 1st of December. Who can believe it's actually the 1st of December today? I've had a number of friends just on WhatsApp groups and things just go, can you believe it's the 1st of December? Even harder, I think, is that fact that, Mark, it's your birthday next week, isn't it? It's your birthday. Yeah. And Pete's, they're a day apart. Not in age, but on the birthdays. Yeah, we've got a lot to celebrate, obviously. But I don't know how your family find it, Mark, but you get past your birthday and Pete's birthday, and suddenly it's Christmas. It just happens like that, doesn't it? It sort of runs in very quickly together.
Yeah, a friend of mine's birthday's on Boxing Day, so...
Oh.
Yeah.
Yes, actually Nikki, that I used to work with at Cotton Patch, hers was on Boxing Day, and it's rubbish as a child, I think. You know, you particularly lose out. So anyway, there's somebody else's big birthday on the 25th, obviously. Yeah. So we are looking forward to getting ready the rundown to Christmas, and lots of family planning and, you know, who's coming when and all that kind of stuff. And I hope you're able to meet up with your family and friends over the Christmas period. In the meantime, back in the quilting world, it's been a busy old week here, which is, well, we've had a busy day again, haven't we, Mark? Pete's not here, you see, so we notice his absence, I would say, certainly on the phone calls and things, and it's been a busy week because we had our Purple Friday offer. So congratulations to those customers who decided to go ahead with some of those offers. We really look forward to welcoming you to the Handy Quilter family. And also to those people who've had their machines installed in the last week or two, as Pete has been driving around the north of England and Scotland in order to do those installations. And we've seen some of the results of the really excellent quilting that's going on as a result. Also customers in Ireland.
Can I just say on that point that it looks like Pete's commented, so
should we have
he's
a look?
Not doing as much work as we think he is.
Oh yeah, you see, we assume that he's working, don't we? I can track him on the app as to what he's doing, where he's up to, but I don't actually know what he's doing. So hi Pete, I hope you've had a good and successful day. And he's been doing servicing, saying hi to our Moxie mentor, Jo Avery, up in Scotland. And Jo's done some beautiful work on her Moxie when we went to the quilt show in the autumn. We saw some of Jo's work, absolutely fantastic. It was lovely to see how she's using the Moxie for really quite modern style quilting, both by using straight line quilting, really effective, as well as ruler work and free motion. And we just love Jo's work. It's always, if you haven't seen Jo's work, it's well worth having a look at Jo Avery. Avery. And she often, if you go to Festival Quilts, you'll have seen that she does lectures and things. Her colour theory lectures are really worth going to. And she does these lovely designs in the round that look absolutely brilliant. Just really fun designs, but also the colours that she uses are really uplifting. And a mixture of maybe, you know, the quilting stitch that you get on a machine, but with handwork as well. And she does thread house with Sarah Ashford and another of her friends whose name I've forgotten. I do apologise. But yeah, there's some really good things. And if you follow her on Instagram, it's well worth doing that. You can see some of the things she's posting. All right. So that was Jo and the other customers that have got Amaras and various other machines and pro stitchers. There's a few pro stitchers gone in this week that I'll be doing some training with. So I look forward to doing that training with you guys. What else? Oh yeah, we've got, I was busy on Tuesday, had a really, really fantastic time with the Women of Hope up in Selly Oak in Birmingham. Not an area I know very well, but it's very close to Bourneville, which, if anybody knows the history of the Cadbury family, you'll know that they were Quakers. So when they set up their manufacturing, they had the Bourneville Village, which is still going as a trust, and the houses there. It's just such a beautiful area. It's not, as I say, not an area I'm very familiar with, but it's really lovely to visit. And you go past Cadbury World, so anybody's been to Cadbury World, you know where that is. The Quaker house where we had the meeting is one where the Cadbury family is still involved in the Quaker movement, obviously, but they are also involved in being trustees of the Quaker house and the Quaker hall, I should say. It's the meeting house. And in that hall, we'd got various ladies from all different parts of the world who are either refugees or asylum seekers, people with really very little in terms of resources, and some of them have arrived in the UK with literally just like a bag. So it was great to be involved in this charity project, Women of Hope. And it was the idea of Sharon, who's one of our local quilters. She actually has an Amara and one of the sit-down long arms. And it was Sharon who sort of found the group and started going to see the group and had the idea of taking along some sewing machines that could be left at the meeting house. Well, that's the plan. And for them to use it while we don't, in the weeks that we don't see them. So the plan is to go back probably once a month or something like that. And to do a quilt that will then hang in the hallway of the meeting house, and also for them to have some skills, like some of them couldn't sew. So one of the absolutely fantastic moments of the day was showing Margaret, who was one of the ladies there, how to use a sewing machine. And she'd never used a sewing machine before. And I said to Sharon, it was absolutely brilliant. She said, this is like a dream for me to use a sewing machine. So when you realize, how much it means to some of these ladies, it's incredibly important. Plus, it's a very useful skill. So within about 20 minutes, there was like 3 pairs of child's trousers being passed over to this one lady, and she was from Tehran. And she was there, but she'd actually used the sewing machine before, more than used the sewing machine. She'd actually showed me some fantastic pictures of the beautiful tailored suits that she'd made, and she had a couple of sewing machines back in Tehran, but obviously didn't have them here. And what was lovely was that she was then taking up these children's trousers, so that suddenly that's an incredibly practical and useful skill. Have we got anybody making any comments or anything?
Lots of people saying hi. So
yeah, who have we got?
Joan from Stockport.
Oh yes, hi Joan.
Isabel from Spain, so maybe slightly warmer than here. Yeah. Depends on where she is in Spain. Yeah,
definitely. Is that Isabel Armitage, is she?
Martin Haney.
Oh, yes. Oh, yes, of course. Yes, you've been emailing about them
today.
Yeah, brilliant.
There's a few people saying they've got snow.
Snow! So, let it snow, let it snow, let it snow.
Julia in Northumberland.
Yeah, wow. Well, you're going to catch it a little bit there. It's been cold enough, hasn't it?
In fact,
it's been very dry here.
It looks like there's quite a bit of snow up there.
I guess Pete
Carol and Helen have also mentioned about that.
Have they?
Yeah.
Wow.
And of course, we've got Pete from the north of England in Scotland tuning in.
Pete, would that be the Peter Holpin that we know and love?
We think so, yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. So, hi. Nice to hear from everybody.
Yeah, great. Thank you very much for saying hi and where you're from. It really makes it so helpful to us, and it's also lovely to see how many of you are, connecting with us on a Friday afternoon at 3 p.m. So, well, sort of. I say 3 p.m. Yeah, sort of. We had one of those classic Facebook moments go live, and it was this operation is not possible at this time, or query, whatever. Anyway, we got there in the end. So that was lovely doing the Women of Hope, and we'll take along the machines again in January and do some more with them. So we'll keep you posted on that. But if anybody does have a sewing machine that it's still operational, but they don't want, and they would be happy to donate it. I know, some sewing machines, obviously, like the 1130 I took along, which is a lovely old Bernina. My mum's old Bernina was perfect, but it has got value. So we wouldn't be leaving it at the Quaker meeting house itself. We'll take it along each time. But there's machines out there that are 20, 30 years old, still doing, a great job. If you know of anybody who's got one, or if you've got one yourself, let us know, and maybe somehow we can get it to those ladies or to a similar group, because we know how much use that they can get out of it. They were like sponges. Honestly, the joy and the laughter and everything. And at the end, they got to take away a quilt. And for those who'd got more than one child, they took away, as many quilts as they could. So I think we gave out 40 quilts on the day. Isn't that fantastic? So quilts, and one of the ladies, Elaine, modelled the quilts being used like they do quilts for care leavers, where you sort of wrap it around yourself. Because if people have come from obviously a warmer climate, they're not going to realise that actually you can just kind of put these things around you. They don't have to fit a bed. We can just have them while we were sort of, sitting on the sofa sort of thing, as a lap quilt. Right. We are in the process of finalising a lot of dates for 2024. So I've been going through with Pete. We've got a try before you buy that I've just in the process of launching on the website. There's been a lot of phone calls today and various other things that I had to do. So literally up until about 2:45, I was still working on those other things. But I didn't manage to get it up, I don't think. Oh, it might be on there. Actually, the 17th of February is on there. Saturday, the 17th of February. So if you are thinking about getting a long arm, but you're undecided, and you feel like going to a show doesn't provide you with enough information, you want to sort of know a bit more, what are the accessories? What do they do? How can I use, free motion quilting from the front? Can I do a pantograph? What is a pantograph? Ruler work, how does that all work? How different is it? Maybe use it on a sit down, but you don't know how it works on a stand up. So those questions are very, very common, and it's completely understandable that with as our lovely Scottish customers will say, a considered purchase of a long arm machine, that you will actually want to know a bit more. Not everybody does, and they might have done their research or know a friend who's got one and they feel perfectly comfortable that they're going to take it up. But if you want to do more research and you want to come along, all we ask for is a £10 reservation fee. You get that back if you purchase things on the day. So, it's effectively costing nothing. And we put on some food for you. Keep your energy levels up, because, long arm quilting can take it out of you. So in a 4-hour session, which is what we run here, we will show you the different machines and what the differences are. And you'll have a machine, one per person. So you can have a real play. So that is on Saturday the 17th of February. Please do come along. It was lovely last time. People benefited. Sometimes you get more out of it than if you just book a sort of one-on-one session here, which we're very happy to do as well. But a one-on-one, you're not getting the questions that other people might want to ask. And sometimes you learn as much from other people as you do from the questions that you might have yourself. So that's on the 17th of February. There'll be one in April, the 9th of April. There'll be one in May, the 11th of May, and Saturday, the 28th of September. Those are the dates that we've got at the moment. But as I firm those up, I will put them on the website. So we've got some other things coming up as well. We've got our foundation workshop on the 20th of February, and the 21st of February is the rulers and fills. In April, we'll be doing a 3-day. We'll be doing foundation, rulers and fills, and feathers as well. So I'll let you know more information about those in due course. But that will be in April. Now, for those people who can't make it, I spoke to one of our lovely ladies who ordered this week, and she's way up in Aberdeen. And in Aberdeen, it's a long way to come, isn't it? If you just want to come for the foundation workshop, that is a big commitment. So, in order to facilitate virtual training, that's also going to be an option for 2024. So if you're in the position that you bought a machine previously and you thought, well, I can't come to the foundation workshop, I've got family commitments, or physically I can't get there, or it's just ridiculously expensive if you add in the cost of the flight, ferry, planes, trains and automobiles, plus a hotel accommodation, it's just going to be too much. Then let's have a look at the virtual training, and I will let you know more details of that when it's available. So we were delighted. This week we got some fantastic news. So from Handy Quilter, we found that the Moxie XL has done all of its rigorous electrical and electromagnetic compatibility checks and passed them with flying colours. That means that we are ready to take the pre-orders. So the pre-orders for the Moxie XL, we've got a fantastic deal. The Moxie XL, we've already priced it really, really keenly. So it comes on an 8-foot loft frame. You can extend that to 10 foot if you wish. And the Moxie XL is going to be priced $7,495. So it's for an 18-inch throat space machine. And we think we tried it at Houston, absolutely brilliant. I need to post the photo of Pete having a go. We know from his drawing class already that he was mastering the feathers, and then we showed you what he was doing with feathers. So now you can see the Moxie XL and what Pete was able to do on that. And the Moxie XL, that 18-inch throat space, not only has it got more throat space, but it's also got enhanced lighting, and it's got a faster speed. So it's a faster motor, and it is a little different to the Moxie, but it looks quite similar. It's like a stretch Moxie, but there are those extra features. So if you're interested in a Moxie XL, we're going to tempt you even further by not only that $7,495 price, but also we're going to do a pre-order special price with the £250 discount and £250 worth of ruler accessories. So it's a great time. If you're thinking about that longer throat space, then this would be a brilliant, brilliant buy. You'll be getting £500 worth effectively of product and money off an already excellent price. So think about it, give us a call if you'd like to discuss, or send us an email and we would be happy to help you. Right, Moxie XL then. So we will be getting ours in, I think it'll be January now, or perhaps in December. And as soon as we've got it set up on our frame, we will be demonstrating it on Facebook Live. Wouldn't that be a nice Christmas present, eh? That's going to be my Christmas present. Okay, we've done Try Before You Buy. Oh yeah, the foundation workshop in April. I didn't give you the date for that, by the way. The 24th of April. So the 24th of April for the foundation, 25th for rulers and fills, 26th for feathers. So have a look at the website when we get that up and have a book of that. If you're getting a machine, if you've just had your machine, options are February or April. Now, we're going to just talk a little bit about some technical stuff, because this really, was there anything else, by the way? Is there any comments I need to respond to, or any questions that you might have seen, Mark?
Nothing specific questions-wise.
Okay.
Helen, I think it's Wycherley, has...
Helen and Jess.
She's excited.
She's very excited.
The Moxie XL.
Yeah, no, it's really exciting. I'm so delighted that it's, the timing is going to be really good for you guys. I know you've got a bit of clearing out to do. I know that, but you'll get there. We quite often find that when we arrive, I mean, we're not doing the installation of that particular machine, but if we arrive at someone's house and they've decided to go ahead, the number of boxes outside the room, it can happen. We've all got stuff. We've got you must have stuff as well, right, Mark? You've got a lot of stuff. Yeah, we all need to clear out. Yeah, we've got wood that's been in the UK over to the Netherlands and back to the UK. There's chunks of 2x4 in the garage that have actually more well-travelled than some people who live in the UK. That's impressive. Now, customer called or emailed me today, and I had a chat with her. And she had a problem that the machine tension on when she was stitching, and she's got an Avante, was suddenly going very tight, thread was breaking, top and bottom. So we talked through various things. I mean, she was very good. She'd gone through a lot of the things that we would normally go through. So we went through those again, which we have to do really, because you can never assume. Never ever assume in tech support. Sometimes I do, and then that's a mistake. So what we found was that she was using these pre-wounds from Wonderful, which are really good. They are wonderful. Wonderful. But they do have a tendency to be overwound. So what happens is she was taking the bobbin out of the bobbin case after it had broken and seeing that there was thread inside the bobbin case. Now she's got an old style bobbin case, so that's one of the old Surliani style ones, which has got, it doesn't have the removable blue sprung steel. It's actually like a fixed U that's screwed in. So it wasn't because the bobbin case spring was misaligned or had come out or anything else like that. This was more a case of the thread spooling off. And the reason was that she didn't know about removing. I normally remove about 15 of these. And the reason being is that the thread is stacked higher than the edge of the bobbin. And if that happens and it's spinning around, it just falls off the top. Now we did speak to the lovely Andrew from Wonderful at Houston. And we had already emailed him about it following feedback from customers. So Andrew said, we fixed it. We don't do it like that anymore. The new stock that we will get in will not need to have that off, but you do need to still check it, because we might have stock, they might well have stock still, but for future reference, you might find that suddenly that problem goes away. But for Jane, it was a very real problem, and we talked about it. She had a look at it. She'd done everything. She'd got the business card underneath the outer spring. She'd checked the top. I mean, literally everything. So we just remove all of this, and you're thinking that's a waste of thread. But if you wish, you can use it for some stitched fantastic sculpture or something. Whoops. Right, that's permanently attached to my, there we go. There. So once I've done that, I can now put that in my bobbin case, and that is well below the outer edge, and that won't cause me a problem. So if you can take that on board, that would be wonderful. Wonderful, wonderful, wonderful. Yeah, and the other thing is really just making sure that I've got a whole load of bobbins in here, but just making sure that your bobbins aren't spongy. Actually, I don't think I've got any in this particular one, but if they are spongy, you need to ditch them. And if you use a pre-wound bobbin that has these cardboard sides, we recommend that you actually just take that off. You just remove those. I've found they get a bit scrunched, and then they jam in the bobbin case. So when you remove it, you're just left with like a white inside. I'm going to put it down like this. Is that in focus?
A bit closer?
Oh, is it in focus? That's the key thing. Okay. Yeah, that's good. Okay. Yeah, so you're just left with that, and you've removed these two bits. Great. So different types of bobbins. And if you wind your own bobbins, you still need to make sure that it's not spongy. And if you look at the bobbin winder video on YouTube, you will find some tips on there if you haven't already watched it. There is also one on the Moxie bobbin winder. You just need to put in Moxie, and then I think it's bobbin space winder. Just do it as one word, Moxie bobbin winder as one word, if you can't find it, but it is on there. I did it a while ago on a Facebook Live, and then I edited it.
We've got a question from Isabel.
Great.
Can a long arm be kept in a garden room?
Absolutely it can. Garden room, otherwise it's known as a she shed, or the cloth house, which is Helen, who's just put in her order for the Moxie XL. So the main thing is really the temperature. So we're looking to have something like either a greenhouse monitoring thing where you can put it in and it triggers when it gets cold. Like today, it would have triggered. You don't want your machine to go below a certain point, but also you don't want it to go higher than a certain point. Garden rooms can also get incredibly hot, so in the summer, particularly if we have sort of a heat wave. There is an operating temperature and a recommended temperature range which Handy Quilter published as guidance. Now I did put it on our Facebook page a while ago, so if you put in temperature on our Facebook page, it'll probably come up, and if it doesn't, I'll just repost it. Okay, so if you need to know what that range is, let me know. But one of those sort of things that clicks in and turns itself on when you get to a certain temperature, that would be the best thing to install in your garden room. Okay, good question. And I'm sure other people will also hit that. The other thing is that, you know, if you go into a garden room and you put on like a fan heater, the outer casing of these it's aluminium or aluminum, if you're from the other side of the pond, and that does not heat up very quickly. So you will find that the machine operates better at a certain operating temperature. The oils and greases are needing to warm up in order to lubricate the machine. And actually, if it's not a warm enough environment, it potentially will do things like skip stitches. So it's really important that you do that. So just be aware of that if you are using your machine in this particularly cold weather. I mean, to be honest, when we looked at the operating temperatures, you probably wouldn't want to be operating the machine at some of the extremes that the machine doesn't like either. So, you know, it's kind of within the sensible operating temperature of a human being too. Now, Gosh, the time's going actually. I'm obviously yabbering away quite well. I like to do a little sort of technical bit and on these sessions. So the thing I like to focus on today is, don't let me forget the quilt. So the thing I'd like to focus on today is something that we cover in our foundation workshop. The question that quite often comes up is, what settings do I use for quilting? It's a good question because these are stitch regulated machines, and even if you've had your machine for a while, you might still be confused. Most people say, just leave it on this setting, whatever this setting might be, without really realizing that actually there are times when you might want to change those settings. So in our foundation workshop, we've got settings for quilting. So that's like this. Okay, so it's a table, and I can post that because that's fine. I'll share it. In fact, there might even be an updated version from the one that Carolyn's got, because we've kind of changed over time. It's a bit like the thread tension. We have the bobbin tension a little looser than 12 years ago. Things evolve, and our style of quilting is very much sort of free motion. You want to have it in what's called cruise. So let's just talk about those settings and when you might use them in different scenarios. So you might need to come a little closer to see the screen. So let's just take you through this. I'm using the Amara because it's got a nice big screen. That's good. Okay, so on here we've got manual and regulated, M and R. If you're using a Moxie, you've also got you've got M, but you've also got C and P, cruise and precision. So M and R, and if we go into the R, you'll find that there are two different types of regulations. So on the Moxie, you'll have manual, precision and cruise, M, P and C. On the Amara, we've got manual, and within regulated, we can choose precision or cruise. Whenever we're in regulated mode, we have an option in a box here which says the number of stitches per inch. So the number of stitches per inch can, depending on the type of machine you've got, we can go from 4 or 1/4 of an inch all the way up to, on most machines it'll go to 18, and on some machines it'll go even further to 24. On some machines, like the Amara, we also have basting stitches, so we can actually go to a 4-inch basting stitch. On the Moxie it goes, I think, to 2 inches, and on some of them, and particularly older machines, we don't have a basting stitch. So when we're in regulated mode and precision, say a typical quilting stitch of 11 stitches per inch, when I start my handlebars, right, let's just zoom out a bit now. That's it. If I press start, like this, it literally only sews when I'm moving it. Precision, precise. I stop, it stops. And some of you might find it sort of sounds like it's trying to go again. It'll have like a sort of a noise as though I really want to stitch, but I can't stitch. So some machines have that. Now precision is great for certain types of quilting, and it's something that people who really want to be controlled and only have it stitching at that time, and they want to go as slow as they like, and you maybe use it so that you hit certain points. I wouldn't use necessarily the glide foot that I've got on here for that sort of precision. I might put the micro foot on, which is a tiny foot. So that's precision. Let's compare that to cruise, or we can call it continuous stitching. So cruise or continuous. And in this mode, another bit of the screen pops up. On the Moxie, you have the option of choosing this when you go into the selection to choose cruise. You select how many stitches per minute it does when you're not moving it. So whereas when we're not moving it, it does nothing, now in cruise, it's going to stitch at 150 stitches per minute. So if we were to do it at, let's say, 125, that's pretty much 2 for every second, okay? So if I pause, you'll see it keeps stitching. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So yeah, 1 every 2 seconds. Now, why would you want to have that compared to precision? For one, I would say it's a great starting point. I'd go somewhere between 150 and 250, depending on the speed at which you stitch. But for a starting point for a new quilter, cruise, what you can also call C for continuous, is a really good place to start. On some machines, let me just see if this one is programmed to do it. If I don't actually stitch, it'll stop itself. So this is a more recent Amara software, and it's been programmed so that it keeps stitching and then stops. And why does it do that? Same on the Moxie. It does it so that you don't end up with a bird's nest. As a newbie quilter, it's really nice that actually, if you're in cruise or continuous mode and you've left it running, it's going to switch itself off. So this is a really good mode to go into, because even if you forget, let me see, it's probably just moving slightly. This is where I prove it. The trouble is I've got a slight slope on this frame. It's going to do it, isn't it? I moved it again. Stop. Let's just see if it actually does stop. Okay, it's not going to stop. Why did it stop? Let's just do it again. Oh, this is why you don't want to keep it going, because I've now managed to get rid of all my bobbin thread. Let's just pull that up. That is a classic bird's nest. Actually, it's not, it's just breaking the bobbin thread. Right, so normally, if it's not on a slope and your machine isn't moving like mine was, it will just switch itself off. Okay. The thing with a sharps needle, which is what we generally use, oh, this is a good example. A sharps needle, which is what we generally use, it does pierce through the thread, so you can get that problem. It's actually sort of gone through the bobbin thread. Right, let's just take a look at this. I've just taken this out. Now, can you see the inside of that? There. Right. That bobbin backlash spring is in incorrectly. How do I know that? Because actually it's going to move around. I can literally move it around. So it's now fouling this part. There we go, it's just come out. So we do this exercise where we take these springs out on our foundation, which is great, but sometimes when they've come out, they don't get put back in quite right. Or maybe we didn't put it back in right. So I'm just going to put that back in. Let me just make sure it's the right one for this case. It looks right. So there are different bobbin backlash springs depending on the make of bobbin that you've got. And what you need to do is make sure, I just have to look over the top of my glasses. I have an optician's appointment tomorrow to hopefully mean that I don't keep looking over the top of my glasses every time I do something. There we go. So that's back in correctly. So it was just moving around. Right, so we're going to put this back in. So that was cruise or continuous, and on the Moxie it will cut out. Absolutely. In fact, it cuts out quicker. It cuts out after about 5 stitches on the Moxie. Just cut that off. There we go. And we can increase that speed. Now say, I'm just going to give you a demo of, so a bit of free motion quilting. It's stitching every point. because I've got it set to 250, which is my preferred. There we go. So the reason I prefer that is really the flow that it gives you. So the flow that's caused by having those extra stitches at the end. So let's just talk about other times when you might use this setting. I can increase this to 600. So it'll now do 600 stitches even when I'm not moving it. So it's quite fast. And where I would use that is if I wanted to perhaps knock back part of the design. So say this is really difficult with a glide foot. Can't actually see what I'm doing here. I'd use a microfoot for this. But without even changing anything, I'm just slowing down, and now that enables me just to fill in that section of the design. You're probably thinking, Liz, you really needed a microfoot on to do this. You're right, I did. But you see, that meant that without changing a single setting, I've now got all that fill done, or some of that fill done. There's a few bits I've missed because I couldn't see. Use the glide foot for sort of pro stitcher and pantographs, but for what I was doing, a microfoot or a standard foot would be good. So that's with 600. In addition, what if we do 600 and 15 stitches per inch? So this is good for really small stuff. So maybe micro quilting, like tiny stippling, and that sort of thing. It just flows. I don't really care about the stitch length so much, but it's quite nice because, again, if I want to do a bit of filler, just slow down. And it enables me to do that little bit of filler. I really don't know what I'm doing in terms of design here, but it's sort of to look like some kind of flowery thing. So just by slowing down, it enabled me to do more dense quilting without changing any other settings. So there we go, that's 600. What about manual mode? Why on earth would you use manual mode? Why would you use manual mode when you've got a stitch regulated machine? So I'm going to change it to manual. And in the manual mode, we've got a box here with minus and plus to adjust the stitches per minute. Same thing on the Moxie. We can adjust these up or down, and we've got perhaps our favorite settings, so slow, medium, fast. And if I wanted my medium one to be 1200, I just press the save icon, and now that's in my favorites. So with this mode, what I'm doing is basically using the handlebars to control the speed, starting from a certain point, maybe 700, like this, and then increasing. Or whatever. So manual mode, if I'm in the zone, I know where I'm going, great. The other time when it's useful, and I can use those same handlebars to increase the speed, to decrease it as well. So let me just come a little closer to you. Of course, it's all about, the stitch length is all about how fast I move the machine, okay? But say I wanted to do something more intricate, and I'm going to challenge myself here because it is with the glide foot. I'm just going to do some pebbling. Increase the speed. with pebbling, you kind of get into it as well. Like it becomes a little easier. You start off a bit rubbish, to be honest. It's a bit like sort of hand quilting. You need to get into it. Small, small, bigger, biggest. And you can do ovals or you can do circles. And I think manual is really good for pebbling. Here we go. So manual mode, great for pebbling, great where the stitch length isn't as important or where you really know where you're going and you can up the speed. Regulated, precision, where you literally want it to stop exactly where you have it, and cruise or continuous, where you've got some extra stitches and it enables you to do those. A very special case is ruler work. So with ruler work, I would have it set on cruise or continuous, and I'd have it 50 or 75. Now the reason for that, with ruler work, I want the needle to stop in the down position so it's nice and safe. It means the thread isn't getting stretched and moving. But what I'm doing when I press start, it just slowly comes out the work. So, someone's calling me. So basically, this is great. This is a really good setting for ruler work. So 50, 75, that sort of thing. All right. That's it. It's gone to answer phone. You've just appeared on Facebook Live in silence. Okay, so those are the settings. I'll publish it on Facebook as well so that you can see those, and on Longarm Learning Curve, which is the place where if you've got a handy quilter, you can share that information about what you're quilting, if you've got any quilting questions, if you want to celebrate your achievements, like with your latest quilt, you can post it on there. It's a great place to sort of share those things. So I hope that's been useful. I've got one final thing to do, which is to show you the quilt. So I posted it on Facebook earlier today as a little video of unboxing, but I wanted to share it here on Facebook Live as well. So this quilt is the quilt that Pete and I, when we were at Houston at the Quilt Festival, we met Denise Burkitt, who's Australian. She lives up in Queensland, and she's an artist and she paints on fabric. She's just a lovely, delightful person. Hi, g'day Denise. If you're around, if you see this, I'm going to share it with you. So hopefully you will, because I'm absolutely delighted. Pete hasn't even seen it yet, but we're delighted that the quilt has arrived. So we bought this quilt, one of Denise's quilts that was on show in the Gallery of Quilts at Quilt Festival. And some of Denise's quilts were for sale. And Pete and I had been discussing, with Denise separately, how she created her quilts and her inspiration, all that kind of thing. And absolutely loved the way that she did this. So it's effectively it's painted on the fabric. And then one of the fabric companies, Free Spirit, reproduce her designs on fabric. So this quilt is actually a fabric. Isn't that cool? I should have some cushions where it's going to go that are made in the same fabric. So here we are. This is called Kashmir Romance, made in 2023, hand painted by Denise Burkitt and quilted by Carol Ann McCandless from Tennessee. So here it is. This is her Kashmir Romance. And we've got a very special spot in our snug, which is very snug, and it's going to go on the wall, which at the moment is just a plain wall, and it's going to go beautifully in there. We've got, in that room, we've got a small quilt by Hilda van Schaardenberg. I've got an original painting by a guy I used to go and do watercolor with, that's a really lovely one, Stan Kaminsky. So it's kind of like lovely to have these original pieces in that room. I'm really thrilled that we've got that. So thank you, Denise. Thank you for creating it so that we could purchase it. And we will enjoy that and love it and treasure it. Okay, it's great to have all of these sort of different parts of the spectrum that is quilting, right from those ladies who are just starting out on learning how to use a sewing machine through to the quilt artists like Denise. And there's something for everybody in between. And I hope that whatever creative things you're doing this weekend, if you are, or if you're deep in the throes of Christmas purchasing and